Thank you, and I'm just so excited to be here. So my name is Jessica Langston. Nice to meet you, and I am the director of Trailblazer Community at Salesforce. And I've been at Salesforce for over 7 years, and I originally started in developer marketing, and then about 5 years ago, I decided to make the pivot to work in community full-time, and it's probably the best decision I've ever made. And I have a lot of passion for what we do and what our team does and for our community. So I'm excited to share more on that a little bit later. But first, a little bit more about me. So I am a mom of 2 boys, and I am just coming back after maternity leave. So I have one 7-month boy at home, and then I have one 4-year-old, and they certainly keep me busy, and sleep is pretty elusive at this point. So bear with me if I have mind fog. And another thing to know about me, I'm completely obsessed with French bulldogs. In normal circumstances, if I see one in the street, I will bum rush it and go and pet it, and I get so excited. I also have a Frenchie at home. Her name is Olive. And for my team, they know, often they'll hear her snoring in the background, so she's always kind of nearby, but I left her out of the room for today's presentation. And then finally, something I'm doing during this time with the extra time at home, I thought it was good to work on some personal growth things. So I took on a new hobby. I'm trying to learn a new instrument, which is guitar. That's been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So it's nice to have a little bit extra time at home and a new hobby to work on. So this picture is me and my dad. He's actually an amazing guitar player. Me, not so much, but he was teaching me some chords there. So with that, I just wanted to say a quick thank you. I'm so excited to be speaking at CMX. It's actually my first time presenting here, 3rd time attending. I actually have my CMX cup here from last year, and it just means a lot. And I appreciate you guys coming here to listen to the presentation, and hopefully you can take away some awesome tips that you can bring back to your own organization and community. So today when I talk about our leaders, I'm specifically talking about 4 key programs or areas, and I'll be referencing these throughout the presentation. So I thought it'd be good to just kind of get familiar with who our community leaders are. So first, we have our leaders that are active in the online community. They're answering questions. We get over 4,000 questions every month, and they're also hosting over 1,000 active collaboration groups online. And then we have our community groups program. So these are our community leaders that are hosting local and virtual events. And this program has continued to grow. And now we're at over 1,300 groups around the world. And we are at over 1,800 leaders. And a newer program for us is our community conferences program. And we work very closely with the planning teams that actually host full-on conferences in their local regions, and it's pretty amazing to see what they do around the world. And then finally, our Salesforce Mvps, and these are our product experts, and they're nominated by the community, and they are amazing people who go above and beyond to share their expertise back to the community. So the key to success of our community is really about these great leaders that have helped to step up and bring together the community to grow and to succeed together. And as a result, it's much stronger. And by letting our community leaders take the lead, it's really helped to build more authentic connections, as well as help us scale faster and maintain a local focus while inspiring new leaders to come forward. But of course, none of this success happened overnight. I could go into the full history of our community, but it's been running for 14 years, and it's really taken the time. And as you know, community building really does take time. And so the common thread, though, throughout all of the programs that I mentioned is that these were built and inspired by the leaders that came forward and made the asks and made the requests to build out an idea that they had, whether it's to lead a local group or to be able to connect online. The common thread there is that these were asks that came from the community, and then Salesforce in turn responded with the ability to support that, whether it's through platforms or tools. And we'll get into a little bit more specifics there. But it's really about changing your mindset to give the trust over to your leaders, to hand over the keys and let them take the wheel and really help to build your community strategy. So today we'll be going through my top 10 ways to put your leaders in the driver's seat. And hopefully you can walk away with some tips that you can bring back. I'll be sharing real life examples and things along the way that hopefully will inspire you. So tip number 1, roll out the welcome mat. So this has been an area of focus for us over the last few years for 2 reasons. We were getting feedback from our community leaders that they really needed help to bring new members into their own community groups and to share it with local customers. So with that, and also the fact that we got a dedicated marketing team, we really put a lot of energy into this effort. And we've seen some amazing growth throughout. So a few tips to consider: just make sure you're being welcoming. Invite people early and often to join the community. And be discoverable. Think about all the owned assets that your organization has. Is community present there? Do you have a call to action that brings people to the community? Make it easy for new members to find you. Share your values. So this is core to our community. We have 4 core values: trust, customer success, innovation, and quality, that help to guide our community. So it's important to think about your values and to make those present, transparent, so that people can align their own values to your programs. Share the benefits. What's in it for them? So this was something that our marketing team took on early on, was to determine, what is the value for our members, and they hosted a survey to gather feedback from all of our members in the community and use that to help with the messaging and to share what the benefits of connecting with the community are. And then finally, sharing leadership opportunities. Make it super easy, make it fun, make it simple for people to understand how can they get more involved in the community and how can they step up as leaders. So one example that I wanted to share that comes to mind of how we rolled out the welcome mat was at our in-person events and conferences. In the past, we really didn't have a dedicated space for community, but we knew from requests from the community that they wanted to connect. They were hosting their own events or meetups, and sometimes they were coming to ask for space to do so. And it wasn't really easy for newbies to find those. So we wanted to make that easier. And as a result, we created the Trailblazer Community Cove, which was a dedicated space just for the community at our events. And to keep it authentic, we asked community members and leaders and MVPs to come in and to share their stories, to connect with new members of the community and really give them an understanding of what it means to be a community member and how to get more involved. And so we've hosted different ideas in this space, whether it's community campfires to give our community members a chance to share their stories and their journeys, community-led boosts for them to have conversations and to coach people of how to get connected in the community or how to step up as a leader. We've had networking hours to help people build their networks. And as you can see, there's a tree in the background as well. That's something that's been a staple in this space, which is really a free, like people can join and freely come in and share notes of gratitude to show what they're thankful for, whether it's personal or something that inspires them, or if they're thankful for their family or their health. It was really a great experience and so exciting to see how people would go in and share what they're thankful for. And we're going to continue this fun online. As now we're all meeting virtually, we're going to be relaunching Trailblazer Community Cove online, where it gives the same opportunity for people to come and connect and learn from each other. So tip number 2, establish trust. So trust is really a two-way street. We have to lead with trust for our leaders as well as build trust through our actions. So a couple of tips here are always assume good intent. So this is really about being a good partner and leading with trust to your leaders, giving them that trust from the beginning and partnering with them to help build the community. Create a safe space. So this is about giving the space for your community to connect and to learn together and to share open and honest feedback. It's really part of our core job here is to create that space for them to do so. and listen. We always practice active listening, but it can't be said enough that when you are having conversations with your community, you need to be present. You need to listen and actually hear what they're saying. What are they asking for? And then be authentic. Just be real. It's so often that you feel you have to have all the answers, but when you're having conversations with the community, try as much as possible to be yourself, be authentic. And it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, we could have done better here, and to admit mistake wherever possible. And you don't have to have all the answers. And then follow up. So, I skipped one. Be transparent. So this is all about, leading with expectations, being upfront about what the commitment that they're coming to the table with. So whether they want to be a leader, what is the time commitment? What is the code of conduct? Be as transparent as possible and bring those to the forefront so that they can really understand what they're taking on. And then finally, follow up. This is a surefire way to build trust, or also to break trust. So if you make a commitment to your community, make sure to follow up and to also make good on your word. All right, tip number 3, setting the framework for success. So when you're building the framework for success, we focus on how we can enable leaders as well as scale and keep personal touches that they need along the way. So first and foremost, setting up clarity of role. So whether that's a leader handbook, mentioned code of conduct, and best practices, it's important to bring those to the forefront again and let them know what their role as leader is. This is also about providing the tools and the communication channels to succeed, as well as feedback. Feedback is a huge component of what we do. So you want to have a continual feedback loop, whether it's through regular surveys and polls and feedback forms. And then finally, support. You want to make sure you have the support to really give, lend help to your leaders as you continue to scale and grow. So some of the ways we do that is through our support handle. We also have a lot of help documentation so that they can go and search for help articles on the particular topic that they need help with, as well as hosting office hours for those more personal connections. So one example of a tool that we are rolling out to our leaders is a content library. So one of the pieces of feedback that we received and where they needed the most help in our community group leader program was in getting content and speakers for their event. So we saw that time and time again on our surveys. We really wanted to bridge the gap between the content and the speakers that our community was creating and these meetings that were being hosted, and our leaders having that challenge of wearing a ton of hats, whether it's planning the event, lining up, the food and the venue and all of the logistics, as well as also having to come up with the content and sometimes even speak on that content. It was a lot for them to do. So we wanted to make it easy. We wanted to make it accessible. So we are rolling out a content library as well as a speaker tab here, where anyone in the community can go and submit presentations and demos and different pieces of content that leaders can go and grab and access. And that is on every topic imaginable in different languages. And then also having an opportunity to connect with speakers, people that are interested in speaking at their events. So this is something that we're super excited to roll out to our community. And again, driven by their requests. Tip number 4, get out of the way. So this is about getting good and comfortable with taking a step back, which is not always comfortable, but really letting the community take the lead. You can give them the tools, you can help build connections, and you can answer their questions. But the more autonomy that you can give to your community, the more they will feel that ownership and grow as leaders. And I think the real magic of community happens when our community is able to connect organically, to form genuine connections, to help each other, to have the autonomy to step up as leaders and try new things without fear of failure, and find mentors and coaches along the way to help them in their careers. All right, tip number 5, make them stakeholders. So first and foremost, you want to know, what do they care about most? So this goes back to the listening and asking for feedback and understanding what your leaders are most passionate about. And perhaps that passion lies in product or improving processes or programs or getting access to new features. It's about understanding the what first, and then you can create opportunities to help them influence. So some of the ways that we do that at Salesforce is through advisory boards. We host roadmap feedback sessions. We allow our community to participate in pilots or beta testing, as well as get access to earlier exclusive events or launches. It's really about making them stakeholders in the areas that they care about most. So an example of how we did that, here we go, is with our community leader program again. As I mentioned, we do annual surveys to our leaders, and this really helps us keep a pulse of what they need most. So when we were going through some significant changes a couple years back, we were updating the programs and processes. We got feedback from our leaders that they really wanted a voice in the process. So in order to do that, we launched an advisory board, and working with our team very closely, we tried to come up with solutions that were fair for the community, equitable, and also have the ability to scale for our team. So we formed an advisory board from leaders that raised their hand, and we brought together a team of people from different tenures and locations as leaders to discuss and do deeper dives on some of the topics that came up in our feedback. And then we would continue to keep that feedback loop going and share out the progress of the advisory boards to our wider leader network on a quarterly basis. So that was a pretty successful way to tackle it. And we got some really great feedback to help us to make some tweaks in our plan and make sure that we were keeping the community at the forefront. All right, tip number 6, encourage generosity. So really this is about having that spirit, that give back spirit that's just so core to what Salesforce is. It's one of our core values. It's one of the reasons I wanted to work at Salesforce, and it's amazing to see how much this is infused to everything we do, and that includes our community. So it's important to our leaders too, because it just proliferates that generosity of spirit to give back with and share their gifts or their expertise with no expectation of anything in return, which is just the kind of, again, the core of what our community does. So a lot of ways we do that is through giving back time and expertise, fundraising, pro bono projects, career coaching, and more. Okay, so number 7, create coaching opportunities. So this is really about taking those moments where you might want to just jump on a call with the leader and have an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper and to help coach them with an idea that they might have. So just a couple tips there are: listen without judgment, and then make sure you're learning about what their goals are and offer encouragement, and then be a connector. I think people were talking in the chat about building bridges and filling that gap. I always see our role as a connector or a friend in the organization to help make the connection to the right person, to get them the resources that they need. And then last, support wherever possible. You can't support every idea, but tease it out, see where you can help. And I think it's about being creative, because it's not always about providing financial support. It could be just connecting them to the right resource or get them a piece of content or artwork that they're after. And that's, kind of core to like just being helpful wherever possible, and kind of stretch yourself to see, if you can do just a little bit more. All right, so number 8 is build their network. And I'm going to go quickly because I think I'm running short on time, but providing the channels to connect and have meaningful engagements, as well as being introvert friendly. So not everyone is a power connector, networker, and you just want to make sure you keep a lens on also making it friendly for people that are a little bit shyer and are a little bit more timid to go and network. And then also providing opportunities for mentors and mentees to connect together as well. And here's just a quick example. Every year around Dreamforce time, we bring our community group leaders together. It's a really fun event that we do. It's taking the time to let leaders connect together, to hear from leadership, as well as celebrate achievements together, and a chance to participate in leader-led conversations that we called community chats last year. So you can see some pictures from all of our leaders getting together, and something that we love to do and continue to do. Tip number 9, celebrate awesomeness. So this is really about just taking those moments in time to celebrate your community, whether it's celebrating milestones, awarding great leadership qualities, sharing success stories, keeping it personal. It doesn't always have to be a big social campaign. You can also do personal touches like just sending a thank you note on occasion, and then always having an attitude of gratitude. So really, our success relies on our leaders. So we always keep that in mind and try to say thank you often. And this picture is from a celebration that we did when our community groups reached 1,000 groups around the world. So we just took a moment to have a little party and bring that out in social, and just really take a moment to share in the celebration with our leaders around the world. And then my last tip number 10, keep it fun. So our community loves to have fun, whether it's the coveted golden hoodie, whether it's, our plushies and our amazing swag, photo booths with log flumes, sticker swaps. There's so many ways that our community loves to rally and to have fun. And our leaders play a big role in that as well. It's about bringing that spirit of fun and play back into the community. So, having fun has really been shown to not only help build relationships, but it has amazing benefits to your health and wellness. So it really is important business. So we always try to bring in the fun, but it simply makes our community a space that people want to be a part of. So amp up the fun wherever possible. And to wrap things up, my top 3 takeaways for today are: give the tools, support, and autonomy to your leaders to lead, encourage and celebrate great leadership qualities, and keep it fun and engaging. And with that, that's everything that I have for my presentation. If we have time for Q&A, we can open it up.
All right, that was amazing, Jessica. Thank you for your presentation, and that was really insightful and very easy to implement. So, do you have any questions here? Any popping in the chat before we? Yeah, I think they're all getting a lot of benefits from your presentation. Seems like there are no questions at all. But if they do have question, where can they reach out?
They can reach me on the CMX community. They can also reach to me online on Twitter. I'm open to it all.
All right.
Active in all the channels. Thank you.
We got one question here from Robin. How do you find and encourage people to become leaders?
We covered a couple tips today, but I think it's really, it's a combination of things. I think it's making it really easy and accessible to find out the ways that they can become leaders, because sometimes they just don't know. Like, I've had many conversations with people at events where they said, oh, I didn't realize I could just be a leader, like through a simple application to raise their hand. But I think it also helps when we share success stories, to share tips from leaders themselves and like what they're getting out of it, how they run their communities. Sharing those best practices and personal stories really does help kind of inspire those next generation of leaders. And I also wanted to say, also focusing on the members, like the end users, if you will, making sure their experience is great, that they've had, the successful path of like joining the community, and what did they get out of it? Did they have a really good experience? awesome for them, and they usually want to pay that forward. So they kind of learn from the leaders that help them, and then it inspires them to, in turn, raise their hand to become a leader.
All right, great, thank you. And another question is, at what stage of community maturity would you recommend to introduce the MVP program?
That's a great question. So really the core of the MVP program was to recognize awesome activity that was happening in the community already. So I think once you start to recognize that there are people that are emerging as leaders or going above and beyond, that might be a great time to take a look at introducing that program, something as a recognition program. That's how it pretty much started for us. So again, it's about leaders first taking that step and you know, going above and beyond to give back to the community that served them, and then you just recognize that behavior.
All right, thank you. And that's the last question that we have here. So again, thank you, Jessica, for your time, and we truly appreciate you for having you here in our CMX Summit 2020.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.